Hey guys, tonight on Margaret Radio, Health in Later Life, we're settling in with a quiet topic that often whispers rather than shouts. You're here, maybe with a cozy blanket or that cup of herbal tea you've been meaning to finish. The lights are soft, the evening is kind, and together, we're going to talk gently about something a lot of people live through without even knowing: silent heart attack symptoms. Now, don't let the term heart attack make your muscles tense. We're not here to sound alarms or send you rushing to WebMD at 2 a.m. This is your wind down time, a time to understand, not to worry. Because sometimes the most helpful thing you can do for your health is to simply be aware, to listen inwards, and to know when your body is telling you something quietly. You might be surprised to learn that many people, especially those in their later years, experience heart attacks without ever realizing it at the time. No big dramatic chest clutching, no Hollywood-style collapse, just a strange heaviness one morning, or a vague wave of tiredness after walking the dog, or maybe that moment when climbing the stairs feels just a bit more like climbing a mountain than usual. It doesn't always look the way we expect it to, and that's part of the challenge and the curiosity around silent heart attacks. They don't come in waving a flag. They wear disguises, soft ones. Sometimes they show up as jaw discomfort or mild nausea or a bit of unusual sweating while you're reading the paper. The body has its own language, and it's not always fluent in drama. Sometimes it just whispers. And sometimes we chalk it up to getting older or just a bad night's sleep. That's why this topic matters. Because recognizing what silent heart attack symptoms feel like could make all the difference. It doesn't mean living in fear. It means living with a bit more understanding and a bit more peace. Now, here's a little confession. I once convinced myself I was having a heart attack after eating 2-day-old lasagna. Turns out it was just very spicy regret. So if you've ever second-guessed yourself like that, wondered if that little ache was something serious or just the result of questionable leftovers, you're in good company here. We all do it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're up for it, tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is, where you are. I love picturing you, wherever you are in the world, tuning in as we share this slow moment together. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying still now, perhaps on your bed or your favorite recliner. The air is gentle, your body is settling, and your mind is open, quietly curious. You think back to that time you felt a little off but shrugged it away. Maybe it was a heavy feeling in your arms after walking around the garden, or a sudden wave of dizziness while putting away groceries. It passed, so you moved on, but something about it didn't quite sit right. This is how a silent heart attack might feel. Not dramatic. Not painful in the way we usually picture it, just off. A little different, like you've slowed down but didn't mean to. You might feel more tired than usual, even though you slept well. Or you find yourself catching your breath after a short walk, breathless in a way that isn't normal for you. Maybe there's a gentle pressure in your chest. Not sharp, just a presence. Like someone resting their hand over your heart with a bit too much weight. It comes and goes, and you write it off as indigestion or a pulled muscle from lifting that box of winter clothes. After all, you tell yourself, that's what aging feels like, right? But sometimes that subtle discomfort is your heart trying to speak. And while we all experience aches and tiredness now and again, the body does have ways of telling us when something more serious is going on. Silent heart attacks don't always follow the rules. They might bring nausea without any chest pain at all, or cold sweats that feel out of place, or a sudden sense of unease, a quiet anxiety that doesn't seem to have a cause. And here's where the kindness of awareness comes in. Because when you begin to know what these soft signs can feel like, you stop ignoring them. You start noticing patterns. You start listening to your body, not in fear, but in friendship. You shift gently in your chair or under the covers, and your breathing slows, matching the calm rhythm of the evening. As your awareness sinks deeper into stillness, we begin to look more closely at why these silent heart attack symptoms happen in the first place, why they're so quiet, why the body might speak in whispers instead of alarms, It starts with your heart itself, a strong, steady muscle, always working, even when you sleep. It pumps life through every part of your body, and it's incredibly good at adapting. That adaptability is one reason some heart attacks don't feel like heart attacks. Especially in older adults, the heart has learned how to work around minor obstacles, rerouting blood through smaller vessels if a main artery begins to narrow. That detour keeps things running, but it also masks the danger. Now, picture those arteries for a moment. Flexible tunnels that guide blood from your heart to where it's needed. Over time, things change. A little plaque builds up, a little narrowing here and there. Nothing you can see or feel directly. But slowly, that change affects how much blood and oxygen reaches parts of your heart. This process, called atherosclerosis, is a leading cause of heart attacks, including the silent ones. But here's something you might not expect. Not all heart attacks come from full blockages. Some are caused by short-term spasms or clots that come and go quickly, leaving behind only the subtlest of traces. No drama, no lightning bolt of pain. Just a feeling, off, a bit of nausea, a fleeting dizziness, a touch of confusion, and that's why it's called silent. One well-established health fact is that diabetes can increase your risk of a silent heart attack, particularly if it's been part of your life for a while. That's because high blood sugar over time can damage your nerves, including the ones that help carry pain signals, so your body may not register pain the way it once did. The warning bells stay quiet. The message gets lost in the shuffle. There's a strange kind of irony in how age plays into this, too. As you get older, you become more attuned to your body in some ways, and more used to minor discomforts in others. That strange tiredness? Just aging. That back pressure? Probably gardening. You're more likely to chalk things up to the usual aches of life. And that's where silent symptoms slip through the cracks. Some people, for instance, may notice what they think is a little heartburn, a tightness in the throat or upper chest, and they take an antacid or sip some water, waiting for it to pass. Others might feel unusually exhausted after mild activity, but attribute it to a poor night's sleep or a skipped lunch. Still others might experience mild shortness of breath when lying down, but think it's just the way they're positioned. One comforting insight is that this doesn't mean you're not paying attention. It just means these symptoms are really that subtle. You're not missing anything out of carelessness. You're experiencing what millions of people experience every day. The body doesn't always follow a script. And yes, it raises a common health question. How do you know when to worry and when to rest? How do you tell the difference between a moment of dizziness that's harmless and one that needs attention? The answer isn't always clear in the moment. And that's okay. What matters is learning the general patterns, knowing the possibilities, and never being afraid to check in with your doctor, even if you feel like your concern is silly. There's no such thing when it comes to your heart. Let's walk gently through a few more of these contributing causes. High blood pressure, for example, can do its own quiet damage. Over time, it strains the heart, forcing it to work harder to push blood through narrowed arteries. It wears on the heart muscle, bit by bit, without any outward signs until something goes wrong. Smoking, even if you quit years ago, leaves behind a legacy of vessel damage. So can a history of high cholesterol, particularly if it went unmanaged for a while. All these things build up quietly. They don't need to be dramatic. They're slow painters, coloring the canvas of your arteries with risk. There's also something known as cardiac autonomic neuropathy, a condition more common in people with diabetes, where the nerves that help control your heart and blood vessels don't function properly. It can interfere with your ability to feel pain or pressure in your chest, again leading to those silent signals. Even stress, that sneaky little thread that weaves itself through every stage of life, can play a part. Long-term stress may contribute to inflammation in the body, affect your blood pressure, and even lead to changes in heart rhythm. You don't always feel it building up, but your heart might. Then there's the role of past experience. Maybe you've had chest pain before that turned out to be nothing. So the next time it happens, you wave it off. This mental pattern, this automatic downplaying of symptoms, is another quiet contributor to why silent heart attacks go unnoticed. And here's something you might find oddly reassuring. Sometimes the body actually does feel the symptoms. It just doesn't interpret them as cardiac. You feel tired, but not cardiac tired. You feel a little pain in your neck, but not heart attack pain. You feel discomfort in your upper back, but assume it's from poor posture or too much time at the computer. Each experience is unique. No two bodies whisper quite the same way. There's comfort in that uniqueness too. It means you don't have to compare yourself to someone else's story. Your body has its own language, and learning to understand it takes time and kindness. You might remember a moment last winter when you felt oddly sweaty indoors for no reason. Or maybe last week, you noticed you felt off balance for a few seconds while shopping. These could be unrelated, or they could be subtle notes in your body's music. Notes that, when put together, form a melody worth paying attention to. So what causes these silent heart attack symptoms? Sometimes it's biology, sometimes history, sometimes stress, sometimes a little bit of everything. And knowing that allows you to be gentler with yourself, to observe without judgment, to be curious instead of anxious. That's the kind of awareness that helps, not the kind that keeps you up at night, but the kind that helps you rest more peacefully, knowing you're more in tune with your own rhythms. We'll continue now slowly into the ways you can respond, the gentle actions you can take, the signs to watch, the lifestyle comforts that make a difference. Let's stay with that softness as we move forward. The night hums gently around you. Maybe a distant owl calls out once, or the warmth of your blanket settles closer to your skin. You've absorbed the quiet truth about silent heart attacks, the way they move under the radar, how they're shaped by age, health, history, and habits. And now, like turning the page of a familiar book, we lean into what you can actually do about it. Not in a flurry of urgency, but with that same patient, practical energy that keeps the kettle warm and the porch light on. Let's begin simply, with the breath in your lungs. Taking slow, deep breaths every day doesn't just calm the mind. It gently massages your vagus nerve, the one that helps lower your heart rate and keep your nervous system balanced. A quiet, comforting tip that costs nothing but a minute of your time. Pause once or twice during your day and breathe in deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2, and out through your mouth for 6. Just once or twice. That's all. It helps your heart remember its rhythm. It's a loving check-in, like a hand resting calmly over your chest. Of course, the most powerful solutions often start before anything ever goes wrong. And one of the most important ways to manage your heart's health, especially the sneaky, silent kind, is to have regular checkups. I know, it doesn't sound glamorous, but those routine visits help detect changes you might not notice. Shifts in blood pressure, cholesterol levels creeping up, glucose drifting higher. You may feel fine, but your numbers sometimes tell a quieter story. You might be wondering, how often is enough? That's one of those common health questions, and it really does vary. But for most people in their later life, an annual physical is a strong foundation. If you live with diabetes or have a history of high blood pressure, your doctor might want to see you a little more often. It's not overcautious, it's caring. You may be surprised how much your gut health and your sleep habits can also support your heart. Yes, really. Sleep, in particular, is like nighttime maintenance for your cardiovascular system. When you sleep deeply, your blood pressure drops, your heart rate steadies, and inflammation settles down. Skimping on sleep can interfere with all those benefits and sometimes make silent symptoms even harder to notice because your baseline is already fatigued. So here's a little lifestyle nudge that isn't as dull as it sounds. Try building a sleep-friendly space. Keep your room a little cooler. Dim the lights well before bed, no screens, and maybe, even if just once this week, go to sleep at the same time 2 nights in a row. It's an invisible gift to your heart. Another small comfort tip: keep a body journal. Nothing intense, just a small notepad or digital note where you jot down anything unusual you felt that day. Maybe mild chest tightness after gardening, or lightheaded for a minute while standing up. You're not diagnosing anything. You're just gently building a record of how your body speaks. That way, if something ever does feel more serious, you can look back and see if there's been a pattern. And let's not forget movement. You don't have to run marathons to keep your heart happy. In fact, Gentle movement is often more sustainable and just as effective, especially in later life. A short walk in the morning light, stretching your arms above your head after your coffee. Even light yoga in your chair can increase blood flow and strengthen your circulation. The key is consistency, not intensity. Here's a well-established health fact. Just 30 minutes of walking 5 times a week can reduce your risk of heart disease, even if those minutes are split into shorter chunks. That means 3 10-minute walks throughout the day count just as much. If that's not kindness in action, I don't know what is. Let's also talk about something we rarely mention directly: loneliness. Studies show that people who feel isolated are more likely to develop heart issues and less likely to seek help when symptoms arise. So if you've been meaning to join that community garden or call that old friend, consider this your loving nudge. Connection isn't just good for your spirit, it's good for your heart too. And food. Food. Such a comforting topic. Eating for heart health doesn't mean giving up the things you love. It means embracing balance. More colorful vegetables, a little less salt, and a soft spotlight on healthy fats like those found in olive oil, avocado, and nuts. You don't need a complicated diet plan, just the gradual shift toward choices that nourish rather than drain. One practical, lesser-known insight? Potassium. Many older adults are low in potassium, which helps balance the effects of sodium and supports healthy blood pressure. Bananas are great, sure, but so are sweet potatoes, spinach, and even white beans. Add a bit here and there, and you're quietly fortifying your body with something it already understands. Now, let's say one day you do feel something unusual. Not pain, exactly. Just different. Your arm feels heavy. You're more tired than seems fair for a short walk. Maybe a little dizzy. What do you do first? Pause. Sit down. Breathe slowly. Try to assess your symptoms. If they last more than a few minutes or come with nausea, shortness of breath, or a cold sweat, don't dismiss them. Call for help. Even if it turns out to be nothing, it's worth the peace of mind. Remember, catching a silent heart attack early can prevent a bigger one later. A comforting phrase to hold on to. Better a gentle check-in than a quiet regret. And here's something else many people don't know. You can request a blood test called a troponin test after a suspected episode. It checks for heart damage, even if you didn't feel anything dramatic. It's not routine, but you can ask. It's your body, you're right. In terms of longer-term support, speak with your doctor about medications if needed. Sometimes a low-dose aspirin is appropriate. Sometimes statins help, and sometimes lifestyle changes are all that's needed. Each plan is tailored. You're not just a number on a chart. You're a whole person with a story, a rhythm, a set of goals. And through it all, awareness remains your best companion. You don't need to memorize every detail. Just remember the feeling of being connected to your body and that you deserve to be heard. Your concerns are valid. Your health is worth understanding. So tonight, as your eyes get heavier and your body sinks deeper into stillness, know this. There are solutions. Quiet ones, gentle ones. Not just emergency measures, but daily kindnesses, rituals of well-being, from sleep to soup to simple walks in the sun, from reaching out to someone you love to listening a little more closely to that ache behind your shoulder blade. You are not fragile, you are not behind. You're here learning, breathing, and tuning into the melody of your own health, and that is more than enough. The night has grown quieter now, that kind of hush that only comes when the world has let go of the day's edges. Even your breath feels slower, more steady, like the gentle rocking of a boat anchored in still waters. You're not rushing to fix anything, not bracing for bad news. You're simply here, listening, letting your body feel seen without the noise of expectations. And in this soft silence, you might begin to understand something deeply comforting. Your body isn't out to betray you. It isn't a puzzle to solve or a storm to brace against. It's a living memory of everything you've been through. Every laugh, every ache, every small joy tucked into your cells like notes in a bottle. When we talk about silent heart attack symptoms, it's easy to imagine them as ghosts. Shadowy, vague, hard to grasp. But in truth, they are often just quieter voices. A sense of tiredness that doesn't quite match the effort. A fullness in the chest that arrives with no real reason. Slight shortness of breath after an easy stroll. And sometimes no symptom at all, just a subtle unease, as if your body is whispering something it needs you to hear. That's not meant to make you anxious. Quite the opposite. Knowing the signs, even the soft ones, is like learning the language of your own heart. And tonight, you've been doing just that. Listening, honoring, letting your curiosity be a form of care. You might remember how earlier we talked about deep breathing and potassium-rich foods, about gentle walks and sleep that restores the rhythm of your pulse, about checking in with your doctor, not out of fear, but because you deserve clarity. Not certainty, maybe, but clarity. Enough to trust the stillness again. Sometimes the best care begins not with an answer, but with a question that is finally asked aloud. Is this feeling normal? Could this tiredness be more than just age? Would it help to talk to someone about this? And the most wonderful thing is, you don't have to answer those questions alone. You're part of a community of listeners, learners, and late-night thinkers. People who, like you, want to understand their health not just in terms of disease, but in terms of dignity. So if in the days ahead you feel something different in your body, something new or hard to name, pause. Remember this moment, this calm, this care, and gently ask, could this be my heart asking for help? No panic, no shame, just a hand on your own chest saying, I hear you, I'm here, let's take the next step together. Now let your body settle further into the warmth of your blankets. Your muscles can loosen just a little more. Your hands, once resting gently by your sides, might now feel weightless, untethered. Outside your window, the world holds its breath with you. Maybe a dog in the distance dreams. Maybe the wind nudges a curtain just enough to whisper across the room. And maybe, just maybe, your heart, that quiet metronome inside you, feels a little more understood. This isn't the end of a lesson. It's the beginning of a deeper kindness. You carry with you more than facts. You carry a softness now, a steadiness. And when you wake in the morning, with sunlight brushing through the blinds and birds beginning their tentative chatter, you'll know you listened, you learned, you cared. And that matters. So rest now, not because everything is perfect, but because you are already enough, exactly as you are. Be kind to your breath, be curious about your body, and let sleep wrap its arms around you like the oldest, most familiar comfort. You've done enough for one night. Sleep deeply, wake gently. And when you rise, know that your heart, quiet or loud, has a companion in you, always.